Anthony Joshua weighed in at 17 stone 10, which is 248 pounds. And Kevin Johnson weighed in at 17 stone 7, which is 245 pounds. Michael Buffer wrongly announced Kevin Johnson as weighing 16 stone 1 pounds, which would have been 225 pounds. And I could tell just by looking at him that had to be a mistake. Johnson looks in relatively good condition for him. He had maybe a hint of a six-pack. So he was in relatively good condition, but he didn't look nowhere near 225 pounds. So it's yet to be officially confirmed, but I've seen Anthony Joshua and a few other people say that Kevin Johnson's weight is actually 245 pounds, 17 stone 7, and he certainly looks about that. Now, Johnson's weight is not really what I'm going to talk about that much in this video, because I don't think it will really make much difference in terms of how he performs, because that's the kind of weight he's normally at anyway. But Anthony Joshua's weight is starting to become a concern for me. When Joshua first turned professional, he was weighing around 230 pounds. I think he weighed as light as 228 pounds for one of his early fights. And now he's up to nearly 250 pounds. Just because you're a certain height, it don't necessarily mean you have to be a certain weight. Not everybody carries the same amount of natural muscle mass, bone density as the next man. Deontay Wilder, for example, is the same height as Joshua, around 6'6", 6'7", and he only weighs about 220 pounds. There's no point with a guy like Wilder in packing on loads of extra muscle, because his body is not designed to carry that extra muscle. He's naturally a 220 pound guy. He's naturally a slim guy, like a heavyweight version of a Tommy Hearns. Leave him like that. That's how his body functions and operates most effectively. You start packing on muscle, you're going to take away a lot of his speed, and you're going to put a strain on his heart and lungs and what have you. By packing on muscle, which requires extra blood and extra oxygen, which his body was not naturally designed to carry. Now with Joshua, I think having him around 230, 235 is perfectly fine. I think 248 is too much. When we're going up towards the 250s, I think it's too much. And he's packed all this weight on in a relatively short space of time. And I've noticed that over the past couple fights where he's been up nearly 250 pounds, he's looked slower to me. He hasn't looked quite as sharp. His combinations haven't looked quite as quick. To me, he's looked slower. I've seen an interview with him where he said that he stopped doing weights a while ago. Well, if he stopped doing weights, I don't know what other kind of strength training he is doing, but it's obviously packing on the pounds. I mean, he's going to put on natural muscle as he matures and gets older into his late 20s and early 30s. He's going to put on more muscle. His muscles are going to get heavier and denser and what have you. But to me, he looks bulkier than he did even 6-7 months ago. And that has to be to do with his strength regime, whether it's weights or whatever the hell kind of training he's doing. There's too much strength training as far as I'm concerned, and it's going to slow him down. So I would like to see him bring that weight down a little bit. Around 235, 230, that's perfectly fine. But when he's up around the 250s, I think he's looked a bit sluggish, in my personal opinion. We'll see how he does against Kevin Johnson. And the thing about it is, the kind of fighter, when you're up against someone who is packing on a bit too much muscle, as I think Joshua is at around 250, the thing that's going to give him problems is someone that's the opposite of that, someone that's fluid, someone that can move more fluidly and more rhythmically. And Kevin Johnson, if nothing else, he is a fluid fighter. When he does decide to throw his punches, he is loose and fluid and what have you. So maybe there's the potential there that he could give Joshua some problems. The most fluid fighter that Joshua fought in the amateurs was Erislandy Savon. If you remember that, that was in, I believe, in the first round of the Olympics. And most people felt he lost to Erislandy Savon. And it's not like Savon came out there and blasted Joshua out the water. No, but he was slick. He was moving around. He was very loose and what have you. And Joshua was just a little bit too stiff and a bit too tight to be able to really get to him. And he found that fluid movement very difficult to deal with. Johnson is definitely not as talented as Erislandy Savon as far as I'm concerned anyway. But nonetheless, he might be able to do something similar. I'm anticipating Joshua winning this fight. I'm not anticipating an upset at all. But he may make Joshua look clumsy here and there. I don't know. The thing about Johnson is that he talks a good game and he will try for about a round, or he'll try until he gets hit hard, and then he goes into sparring partner mode. That's how Kevin Johnson is. As soon as he feels a good punch, he goes into his shell and just tries to survive. And that's why I expect him to do against Anthony Joshua. But if he manages to evade getting hit and he manages to maybe mess Joshua around with his slickness and what have you, then we might get a competitive fight out of it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Do you agree with me that Joshua is now starting to put on a little bit too much weight? 248 pounds? I don't know, man. I'd like to see it a bit lower. Let me know how you feel in the comment section below. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.